When did a dental appointment shatter your entire world? I am sitting here, honestly, staring at my cracked iPhone 14 screen, which is currently displaying 47 unread text messages from a man I thought I knew. And I still can't process that my entire life exploded over a dental appointment. I just found out Wyatt Choi, who is 58 years old and has been my world for 2 years and 8 months, might not be the father of his own kid. And the entire revelation happened while I was trying to figure out if I had enough PTO hours left to cover a root canal consultation. The irony is just killing me. GL, I am currently hiding in the 2018 Honda Civic in a Target parking lot near the office on 5th floor. And yes, I bought Talenti gelato and a $43.67 grocery bill worth of junk food I probably shouldn't eat because stress eating is a thing. I don't even know where to start with this dumpster fire, but I need to type it out before I call my sponsor, because the urge to absolutely destroy my decade of sobriety right now is terrifyingly real. I haven't been this close to falling off the wagon since that time my cat ate a needle, and this is somehow worse than veterinary trauma. Okay, let's back up. My name is Teresa Sanchez, 21F, and I work as a hospice journey accompanist. Yeah, it's intense. I spend my days helping people manage final arrangements and comfort care, which means I deal with serious life and death situations every single day. And frankly, I thought I was emotionally prepared for anything. Spoiler alert, I was not prepared for my personal life to turn into a Lifetime movie starring a covert narcissist. Wyatt Choi, 58M, is, or was, my partner. He's way older than me. I know, major red flag. But honestly, he was charming and financially stable, and he listened to me talk about my stressful days. He drove a black BMW he constantly complained about affording. But whatever, he paid the $1,247 rent on apartment 3B, and our life was supposed to be easy. Runs some kind of consulting business that mostly seems to involve him taking 27 calls in an hour and looking perpetually stressed. The core problem, which I should have seen coming, is that Wyatt is the king of making everything about him. Everything. If I talked about my work, it turned into him complaining about his own stressful week. If I cried about a patient, he'd talk about how he needed to self-care because my stress was stressing him out. Covert narcissist energy, right. Past me was such an idiot, I just saw it as masculine seriousness. Anyway, I had this ongoing tooth pain. Super fun. I finally got an appointment for Tuesday at 11:47 a.m. with Dr. Klein, who is apparently the only person in the city covered by my terrible dental insurance. Because Wyatt is so dramatic about his schedule with a capital S, he insisted on driving me, even though I have my own Civic, and the office is only 3 blocks from where he has a recurring appointment at the chiropractor. So we drive over there, battling the Tuesday morning traffic which absolutely sucked, and we get to the dentist office. It smells like mint and fear, you know the vibe. Wyatt, being Wyatt, decides he needs to sit in the waiting room with me. I need to make sure they treat you right, Teresa, he said, adjusting his expensive jacket. Total power move. I was just trying to fill out the paperwork and maybe watch some terrible daytime TV, but he kept sighing loudly every time I paused to check a box. This is where Kevin King, 22M, enters the chat. Kevin is my coworker. He's technically a new hire and is supposed to be helping me with intake, but he's honestly the laziest person I have ever met. Literally spent an entire 8-hour shift yesterday trying to figure out how to disable the notification counter on his Samsung Galaxy instead of calling the hospice supply vendor about that delayed shipment. I had just seen him at 9 a.m. complaining about running late because he missed his bus. I look up from trying to remember the exact date I had my wisdom teeth out, spoiler. I didn't, and I see Kevin walking into the dentist waiting room. Teresa squawked, looking like a deer in headlights. He was wearing his usual outfit, stained Patagonia vest and wrinkled scrubs. Oh my God, what are you doing here? My tooth is trying to kill me, Kevin. What are you doing here? I asked, trying to keep my voice down because Wyatt was already giving him the patented Wyatt stare, which is supposed to make you feel small and insignificant. Kevin lowered his voice, but not enough, honestly. Dude, I'm here for my quarterly cleaning. My mom, forces me to go. Quarterly? Wyatt cut in, his voice dripping with condescension. Wyatt is meticulous about his teeth and judges everyone else's dental hygiene. Yeah, Kevin mumbled, looking down. Technically, it's a cleaning/checkup. For the braces. The braces? I said, raising an eyebrow. Kevin is 22, he doesn't have braces. Kevin stammered. The retainers, post-braces. Wyatt just scoffed, leaned back in the molded plastic chair, and pulled out his Apple Watch to check his stock portfolio, clearly done with Kevin's existence. I went back to my form, but I was side-eyeing Kevin. He was fidgeting, pulling out his own form, and he looked genuinely distressed. Not dentist distress, but caught doing something shifty distress. The receptionist, a woman with incredibly intimidating nails, called my name, Sanchez. Finally, Wyatt muttered, standing up like he was going into the procedure with me. No, I got it, Wyatt, I said, forcing a smile. You can stay here and relax. I'll be right outside, he insisted, like I was going to run away. I was led back to the examining room. It was standard stuff, x-rays, water pick, the usual small talk about flossing. Dentist confirmed I needed a root canal and handed me a pre-authorization form and a preliminary bill estimate that read $347 after insurance. My stomach dropped. I was already stressed about the $85 plumber charge we just got for the kitchen sink. When I got back to the waiting room, I saw Wyatt standing over Kevin, looking completely manicured and angry, which is basically his resting state, only amplified. Kevin was absolutely pale. I grabbed my purse. Okay, let's go, it's confirmed root canal city, I announced, trying to keep things light. Wyatt didn't look at me. He was staring at the paper Kevin was holding. Kevin, is that your paperwork? Did you already get seen? I asked, confused. Kevin looked terrified. No, Teresa, I'm still waiting. Wyatt snatched the clipboard out of Kevin's hand. It was one of those moments where the air literally went out of the room. Receptionist looked up, ready to intervene, but Wyatt has this intimidating presence. "What are you doing, Wyatt? Give that back," I said, my voice rising slightly. Wyatt ignored me. He looked at the paperwork, specifically at the demographic information, and then slowly looked up at Kevin. He had this dead-eyed expression that made my skin crawl. "King," Wyatt said, reading off the form. "Kevin King." He sounded like he was cataloging evidence in a murder trial. "Yeah, that's me," Kevin squeaked. "This form," Wyatt continued, his voice dangerously low, "requests basic information, including the policyholder's name for insurance purposes." I felt my hands start to shake, a feeling that instantly triggers the old stress response, the one that makes me think about buying a fifth of vodka and hiding in the closet. I took a deep breath. "Stay present, Teresa. Stay sober." Wyatt tapped the paper with his perfectly clean finger. "Seems you listed the policyholder as Wyatt King, 58 years old, and you checked the box indicating the relationship is son." My jaw literally dropped. Like cartoon character jaw drop, I think I made a sound like a small injured bird. "What?" I whispered. "Kevin, what the hell is this?" Kevin, bless his lazy little heart, looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. "I can explain, Mr. Choi," Kevin stammered. Wyatt threw the clipboard onto the hideous carpet, made a loud clatter. "Wyatt King," Wyatt repeated, turning his intense stare from Kevin to me. "My name is Wyatt Choi. Kevin, who is supposedly 22, works with my 21-year-old girlfriend, Teresa Sanchez. Kevin, you just claimed that your insurance is under a policy held by a 58-year-old named Wyatt King. Who is your father?" "I'm 58. I was Wyatt King before I changed my name 25 years ago." I felt my stomach drop straight through the floor of the dentist waiting room. The background noise of the TV, the light jazz music, the hum of the air conditioning, it all faded out. All I could hear was the frantic pounding in my chest. "You changed your name?" I asked Wyatt, my voice shaking uncontrollably. We had been together for 2 years, 8 months. We had talked about our whole lives. He had never once mentioned changing his name. I knew more about his 2018 Honda Civic service history than I knew about his legal identity pre-25 years ago. Wyatt ignored me. He was in full narcissist rage mode, aimed squarely at Kevin. "What is this, Kevin? Is this some kind of prank? Did Teresa put you up to this?" "No, sir, I swear. I didn't know you knew Teresa," Kevin pleaded, his voice cracking. "Just needed a cleaning, and my mom, Leslie, she said I had to use the family plan while I was still under 26 and I was running late." Leslie. I knew that name. Wyatt had an ex-wife named Leslie. He barely ever talked about her, just mentioning their messy divorce 25 years ago, which resulted in him changing his name legally. He claimed they had no children. He was very specific about that, saying he never wanted kids and never had them. I looked at Wyatt. I looked at Kevin, 22M. Wyatt had left Leslie 25 years ago, claiming he was changing his identity because she was toxic. Kevin is 22. The math wasn't mathing, you know? "Kevin," I said, trying to force myself to stay calm. "Your mother's name is Leslie." "Yes, ma'am, Leslie King," he confirmed, terrified. Wyatt was now breathing heavily, his face turning a blotchy red color. He was losing control of the narrative, and it was glorious and terrifying all at once. "Teresa, this is absolutely ridiculous," Wyatt snapped at me, using that gaslighting tone. "You're clearly being dramatic. This is a common name. This boy is lying, or maybe he's trying to steal my identity." "Wyatt, you just admitted you were Wyatt King 25 years ago," I shot back, the rage giving me a terrifying surge of energy. "And Kevin is 22, which means you would have been, 36 when he was born? That's entirely plausible." Wyatt stepped closer to me, lowering his voice, clearly trying to manage the situation before the receptionist called the police or Kevin's mother. "Listen to me," he hissed, his eyes narrowed. "I left Leslie King. I changed my name to Choi. I severed all ties. If this boy is her son, I promise you, I have no obligation to him, and he certainly isn't entitled to my dental plan." The entitlement, the absolute audacity of this man. I wanted to scream, but I remembered the stress management techniques my sponsor taught me. Focus on the immediate sensation. Focus on the facts. Fact, Wyatt changed his name 25 years ago. Fact, Kevin 22M has a policyholder named Wyatt King, 58M, his father, whose mother is Leslie King. Fact, Wyatt repeatedly told me he had no children. Fact, this man is a professional liar. "Kevin," I asked, ignoring Wyatt completely. "Does your dad have a BMW? Does he work in consulting?" Kevin shook his head violently. "No, my dad is a plumber. He drives a beat-up Toyota Corolla and he lives in Westfield with mom. He's totally normal." I looked back at Wyatt. He was breathing a sigh of relief. Okay, maybe it was just a coincidence. Maybe there are 2 58-year-old former Wyatt Kings who had a kid with a Leslie. I felt the tension draining, and I started to feel stupid for jumping to conclusions. Ask me, the stressed-out idiot, already apologizing internally to Wyatt for doubting him. "See, Teresa, this is why you need to control your emotions," Wyatt said smugly, already moving back into his condescending demeanor. "You're overreacting. Let's go." I turned to leave, grabbing my heavy purse. I was so exhausted by the confrontation, I just wanted to go home and maybe watch some terrible reality TV on Hulu while eating my comfort food. Then Kevin spoke up again, and this time he wasn't looking at Wyatt. He was looking at me, Teresa Sanchez, 21F, the woman he worked with at the hospice center. "Wait, Teresa," Kevin said, nervously fidgeting with his ID badge. "My mom, Leslie King, she actually just had her 58th birthday last week. She said she was trying to get me off the family plan, but my older brother helped her set up the cleaning appointment." "You have an older brother?" I asked. This felt like such irrelevant information, yet I was morbidly curious. "Yeah, he's actually the one who told me which dentist to come to," Kevin explained. "He comes here all the time. He uses the family plan too. He lives here in the city, but he's older, 34. Wyatt went completely still. Absolute silence from him. 34, I repeated slowly. Kevin nodded. "Yeah, he's doing really well. He lives on the east side. He just had his second kid, a little girl. He and his wife, Sarah, they just bought a Ring doorbell because the neighborhood is getting sketchy. I stared at Kevin, then at Wyatt. Wyatt was frozen, mouth slightly open. He was not looking smug anymore. He was looking like a deer caught in the headlights, but this time the deer knew the end was coming. Kevin, I asked, my voice barely audible above the quiet jazz in the waiting room. What is your older brother's name? Kevin blinked. Oh, his name is also Wyatt. Wyatt King Jr. I felt the blood rush from my head. I was dizzy. I put my hand on the back of the plastic chair to steady myself. 2 sons, both using the insurance of a man named Wyatt King. 134, 122. Wyatt Choi, 58M, left his wife Leslie 25 years ago when the eldest son would have been 9 and the youngest hadn't been born yet. No, wait, the math. If Wyatt Jr. is 34, then Wyatt Choi was 24 when he was born. If Kevin is 22, Wyatt Choi was 36 when he was born. That means Wyatt Choi, who told me he never wanted children and had none, had 2 children before he changed his name and walked out on his family. I looked at Wyatt. His face was a mask of sheer panic. Opened his mouth, clearly ready to launch into a full-scale denial or a complicated lie about identity theft, but before he could, the receptionist called Kevin's name. King K. Kevin grabbed his forms and shuffled towards the back, looking slightly relieved to escape the crossfire. Wyatt immediately turned to me, his voice a desperate, urgent whisper. Teresa, you're going to get in the car right now, he demanded, grabbing my arm so tightly his Apple Watch dug into my skin. We are going home. This is a misunderstanding, a ridiculous coincidence, and you need to stop talking to this boy. He is clearly lying to get attention. The gaslighting was instant and strong. My immediate instinct, the one honed over years of codependency, was to nod and apologize for my drama. But then I remembered the $200 withdrawals he couldn't explain last month, the strange Zelle transaction to Leslie K., and the fact that I am 21, working with terminally ill patients, and I deserve better than this manipulative, controlling man. I pulled my arm away. I need a minute, Wyatt, I said, my voice dangerously steady. A minute for what? To confirm you're crazy? To try to ruin my reputation in this highly respected dental office? No, I said, walking 3 steps toward the front desk. A minute to check the appointment book. Wyatt's eyes went wide. Teresa, don't you dare. I walked up to the intimidating receptionist. I smiled, trying to look normal while I was full body shaking and trying desperately to breathe so I wouldn't hyperventilate or break my sobriety. Excuse me, I said, pointing towards the schedule book that was slightly open on her desk. Just realized I never got the last name of the doctor who confirmed my root canal. Can you tell me? She squinted at the screen. That would be Dr. Klein, ma'am. He's fully booked. Right. And the patient after me, Kevin King, who is he seeing? He's seeing Dr. Chen for the cleaning, she said, tapping her screen. And who, I asked, leaning in, forcing myself to maintain eye contact, is the patient that just walked out of the back maybe 5 minutes ago after seeing Dr. Klein? He glanced at the chart again. Oh, that was Wyatt King Jr. He had his final veneer fitting. I turned very slowly to look at Wyatt Choi, 58M, standing rigidly by the door. Wyatt King Jr. 34M, the eldest son who Wyatt claimed didn't exist, the one who just had a veneer fitting with the same root canal doctor who I was supposed to see, meaning the appointments were likely scheduled together. Wyatt King Jr. and Kevin King, both sons of Wyatt Choi, nee King. And I realized in that minty, anxiety-ridden waiting room that Wyatt had not only lied to me about having children, but he was actively, currently involved in his children's lives, specifically their expensive dental care, while denying me, his partner, the simple truth of his identity and his family history. I was paying for my own crappy dental insurance while he was funding his non-existent son's veneers. The rage I felt, I saw red. This wasn't just a lie. This was a deliberate, continuous manipulation that made my stomach twist into knots. This was the pinnacle of his covert narcissism, making me feel crazy for questioning him while maintaining 2 completely separate, parallel lives. I walked back towards Wyatt. He was pale now, the arrogance completely gone, replaced by raw fear. I need to leave, I told him, not as a question, but as a statement. You are not leaving, he insisted, his voice hardening. You are coming with me and we are going to discuss this privately. You are making a scene, Teresa. Remember what we talked about regarding public composure? No, I said, shaking my head. I am going to get in my car and I am going to drive away from this dental office and I am going to figure out how I'm going to pay the full $1,247 rent on apartment 3B because I am done with you, Wyatt Choi, or King, whatever the hell you are. He blocked the door. Cannot do this. You have nowhere to go. We are a team, Teresa. You need me. That was his absolute signature line. You need me. It always made me doubt myself. But I thought about my job, accompanying people on their hardest journeys, helping them find peace and dignity. I looked at Wyatt, who was terrified of having his true life exposed by a 21-year-old hospice worker. I said very clearly, no, I need my sobriety, and you are a threat to that. I pushed past him. I didn't stop for my Honda Civic. I walked straight out of the dentist office, ignoring his frantic calls behind me. I just walked until I reached the Target parking lot and collapsed into my car, driving on autopilot. I have been sitting here for 2 hours, watching the sunset, eating Talenti gelato, and trying not to relapse. Then, about 20 minutes ago, the texts started. A flood of them from Wyatt, now labeled WATT liar in my contacts. I started with the typical denial. WATT liar, where are you? WATT liar, Teresa, call me back right now, this is serious. WATT liar, you are being ridiculous, I don't know that boy. WATT liar, I swear I don't know who Wyatt King Jr. is. Then the frantic manipulation. WATT liar, think about the lease. You can't afford the rent alone. WATT liar, I was covering your bills. You won't make it without me. WATT liar, I am coming to the office. Tell me where you are. He sent about 27 calls in 1 hour, all of which I ignored. I was done, just done. I had found the evidence, confronted him, and walked away. I was proud of myself for not caving and for maintaining my boundaries, but the sheer betrayal was overwhelming. I was finally starting to calm down, planning to text my sponsor and maybe call my mom, who always hated Wyatt anyway, when I got the last text, which came in exactly 3 minutes ago while I was typing this. It wasn't from Wyatt. It was a text, apparently forwarded from a different number, with a screenshot of the official patient form Kevin King had filled out at the dentist office. The form had Kevin King's name, 22M, policyholder, Wyatt King, 58M, relationship, son. But beneath that, in tiny printed text where the primary contact is listed, it read, contact, Leslie King relationship, mother phone, a number I didn't recognize, and then, right beneath the emergency contact, there was a box that read, additional dependent information. It was blank except for 2 lines of handwritten script, clearly scrawled quickly by the receptionist after speaking to Kevin. Line 1, Wyatt King Jr., 34M. Line 2, Teresa Sanchez, 21F. Dental history needed. The accompanying text message from the unknown number simply read, Teresa, I think we need to talk. This is Leslie King. I have some questions about why my son's father's dental plan is funding your root canal, especially since you are also listed as a dependent on his account. I am not listed as a dependent on Wyatt's dental plan. Share a Hulu account, not a dental plan. I have zero idea how my name and age, Teresa Sanchez, 21F, ended up listed right beneath his 2 secret sons on the insurance form belonging to the man who swore he was single and childless. I am literally shaking. Not only did Wyatt lie about his kids, but he used their insurance to get my dental consultation covered, and now his ex-wife knows my name and my age. What the actual fuck is going on, and why did I, Teresa Sanchez, 21F, find out I was potentially listed as Wyatt Choi/King's secret third dependent right after finding out he had 2 secret sons? And what does Leslie King want to talk about? I need advice right now. Please tell me I'm not the asshole here. I can't think. I can't breathe. My iPhone battery is at 3%. I need to figure out how to respond to Leslie without having a complete meltdown or destroying the last decade of sobriety I fought so hard for. I am literally staring at the screenshot of the dental form Leslie King sent me, and I feel like I am having an out-of-body experience. The Talenti gelato is melting onto my leggings, and I cannot move. Teresa Sanchez, 21F, listed as a dependent, right beneath Wyatt King Jr., 34M. What in the absolute hell is Wyatt's ex-wife going to think? I'm 21. Wyatt is 58. I'm listed as a dependent on the insurance he uses for the children he told me didn't exist, one of whom is 34. This looks so bad. It looks like I am some kind of gold-digging mistress that he's trying to pass off as a ward or something to get cheap dental care. Which, okay, I desperately needed the dental care, but not like this. I know I have to respond to Leslie, but I can't. I physically cannot type a single word. My hands are shaking so bad that my phone keeps activating the emergency SOS screen. The only thing I can think is, find the vodka, find the relief. I slammed my head back against the headrest of the Civic. No, absolutely not. That relief is temporary and the regret is forever. 10 years. 10 years of rebuilding my life after my early 20s were essentially a blackout disaster. I will not let Wyatt Choi or King take that from me. He's taken everything else, including my sense of reality, but he does not get my sobriety. I opened my texts and scrolled straight past Leslie and the 47 unread texts from Wyatt. I went to the one person I trust, Maya. Maya's my sponsor. She's 52, runs a very successful pottery studio, and has the calmest voice on the planet. I typed, ME, emergency, level 10. Dentist waiting room drama turned into potential legal nightmare narcissist exposure. I'm in the Target lot near the office. Need to talk. Sobriety check requested. The reply was immediate. Maya, I'm pulling up. Stay put. Don't respond to anyone. Breathe. Focus on the taste of the melting sugar in your mouth. I burst into tears when I read that. She knew exactly what I needed. The taste. The immediate, present sensation. I focused on the sickeningly sweet flavor of the caramel cookie crunch and managed to keep breathing until I saw the beat-up Ford Transit van Maya uses to haul clay pull up 2 spots over. She didn't get out right away. She waited for me to walk over. I stumbled out of the Civic, my jeans sticky with melted ice cream, feeling like a complete train wreck. I need to breathe, Maya. I need to know this isn't my fault, I managed, hugging her awkwardly in the parking lot. It's never your fault when a covert narcissist lies, Teresa, she said, calm as stone. Tell me everything, but start with the dental insurance. So I did. I told her about Wyatt's 2 secret sons, his name change, Kevin's accidental reveal, and the final terrifying text from Leslie King implying I was part of the insurance scam. Maya listened without interrupting, just nodded occasionally. When I finished explaining the whole dependent bombshell, she just leaned back against her van. Okay, this is big, she acknowledged, but you kept your sobriety. That's the biggest win today. Everything else is logistics. Logistics, right. $1,247 rent, root canal cost, and the logistical nightmare of dealing with Wyatt, who probably thought I was going to come crawling back. I need to go back to the apartment, but I can't be alone with him, I whispered. And I don't know what to do about the lease, it's in both our names. Maya didn't hesitate. Coming with you? We change the locks immediately and you pack an overnight bag. Tonight you're staying at my place. Tomorrow we get a lawyer consultation, even if it's just a free half hour to figure out the lease situation. I felt the panic receding slightly. Knowing I had a plan and an adult with a clear head executing it made all the difference. We drove back to the apartment on 3B. Wyatt's black BMW was parked right in front, angled aggressively. He was clearly waiting. Stay in the car, I'm going first, Maya ordered. She marched right up to the door and used the spare key I gave her. I stayed in the Civic, watching the lights turn on. A minute later, I saw Wyatt stride towards the door looking furious. He was wearing that silk dressing gown he loves, which always makes him look like a Bond villain who just woke up. I got out of the car. Teresa, where the hell have you been? You abandoned me. Do you know how worried I was? Started, immediately launching into the how this affects me routine. Wyatt, you have two sons, one of whom is 34, and you lied to me for almost 3 years, I said, walking past him towards the door. He blocked the doorway. We need to talk about that inside. That is highly confidential information, and you are not respecting my privacy, Teresa. The irony almost made me laugh. My privacy. You listed me as a dependent on your insurance, Wyatt, I said, my voice flat. That is not privacy, that is fraud, and your ex-wife texted me. His face drained of color again. He looked truly terrified this time. The fact that Leslie was involved meant real consequences, probably financial ones. You need to give me your key, I told him, holding out my hand. Absolutely not. This is my apartment, he scoffed. Maya stepped forward from inside the apartment, a toolbox in her hand. Actually, Wyatt, the lease is mutual, but Teresa is here now. They're changing the locks. You can collect your things tomorrow at 4 p.m., supervised by my friend who is a paralegal. Do you want to leave your key now, or do you want the police to escort you? Wyatt Choi, 58M, the sophisticated consultant who constantly complained about the $1,247 rent, looked at Maya like she was a street urchin. But he recognized the tone of authority. He knew when the gig was up. He pulled the heavy, metallic key from his expensive jacket pocket and threw it onto the floor, making a satisfying clang. This is completely unacceptable, Teresa. You are making the biggest mistake of your life, he hissed, staring right through me. You will be begging me to come back when you realize how hard life is without my support. I didn't flinch. I just looked at the key on the floor. I've been supporting myself since I was 16, Wyatt. I'm good. He spun around and stomped out, getting into his BMW and peeling out of the lot, tires squealing. It was the most dramatic exit possible. Maya immediately started replacing the deadbolt. I packed my bag in a haze. I grabbed clothes, my laptop, my worn-out copy of the big book, and the screenshot from Leslie. I left everything else. His stuff was still everywhere, his ridiculously large TV dominating the living room. I didn't care. I just wanted out. Relief of that locked door was immense. So 2 days later, I'm crashing on Maya's futon, surviving on coffee and her excellent homemade sourdough bread. My work at the hospice center is a mess. I had to call in and use 2 PTO days because I couldn't face the world, let alone the dying. But I had 2 things I needed to deal with, the Leslie text and Kevin King, 22M. I knew I had to talk to Kevin first. He was just a kid, caught in the middle, and honestly, he looked just as terrified of Wyatt as I was. Plus, he was the only source of information about why my name was on that insurance form. I texted Kevin. Emmy, hey Kevin, this is Teresa. I know things got weird at the dentist. Can we grab coffee somewhere neutral? I need to understand something about those forms. No, Wyatt, I promise. KVIN, OMG Teresa. Yes, please, I am so sorry about that whole thing. I've been freaking out. We met at a crowded Starbucks near my office the next morning at 7 a.m. Kevin looked exhausted, still wearing the stained Patagonia vest, but he was cleaner than usual, maybe trying to look professional. Teresa, I am so sorry, he repeated the second he sat down. I honestly had no idea that Mr. Choi, your boyfriend, was like my dad's old name. I swear, I thought Wyatt King was just my dad. I know, Kevin, it's okay. Wyatt is a liar, I said, taking a sip of my lukewarm latte. What I really need to know is why my name was on that dependent section of the dental form. Kevin fiddled with his cup. He looked genuinely embarrassed, which is rare for him. So here's the thing. That form is for the family dental plan. My dad, the real Wyatt King, works for the city as a plumber, but my mom, Leslie, she manages everything. We're on a really good plan through the union, Kevin explained. The policy holder is Wyatt King, 58M. Right, but why was I on there? Kevin sighed. Okay, so when I went in, the receptionist, the one with the crazy nails, she was super fast. She saw my last name, King, and she pulled up the family account, Wyatt King 58M, and she asked if there were any updates to the dependents. And I said, no, same as usual. Me and my brother, Wyatt Jr. But then I remembered I promised Mom I'd ask about insurance coverage for my coworker, who really needed a root canal consultation, cause Mom is a huge planner and always tries to help people save money, Kevin mumbled, looking down at the table. My heart sank. You mean your mom, Leslie King, told you to ask about my insurance coverage? No, Kevin said, shaking his head. Mom didn't know it was you, Teresa. She just knew Teresa Sanchez, 21, coworker of Kevin, needs expensive dental work. Mom is always trying to work the system to help people. She works in billing at the hospital, so she knows every loophole. Kevin leaned forward conspiratorially. She told me, if you're already there, just ask the dentist's office to add her name and age to the additional dependent information box. Sometimes, if the procedure is basic, they can sneak a new dependent in under the primary policyholder's name, especially if the policyholder doesn't check the EOBs that closely, and especially if they're getting the root canal consultation and not the actual procedure yet. She said it was worth a shot, worst case they reject it. I felt a strange mix of disbelief and morbid fascination. Leslie King, the woman Wyatt claimed was toxic, was apparently a benevolent insurance fraud genius trying to help a stranger get affordable health care. So you gave them my name, age, and need for a dental history check, I summarized. Yeah, and I specifically told them I needed Teresa Sanchez, 21F, to be listed, because my mom told me sometimes they can slide people onto the policyholder's account as an unspecified ward if they're under 26 and you don't list a relationship, just the name and age. Kevin looked proud for a second. Kevin, your dad is Wyatt King, 58M, my ex-boyfriend is Wyatt Choi, 58M Wyatt Choi used to be Wyatt King, and he's your biological father, I explained, needing to say it out loud one more time. Kevin's eyes went wide. Wait, you mean I asked the receptionist to try to sneak you, my coworker, onto the dental plan of my estranged biological father, who is currently dating you and neither of us knew? Bingo, I confirmed. Kevin put his head in his hands. My life is a sitcom. Welcome to mine, I replied. This meant Wyatt Choi/King was not actively trying to list me as a dependent, just happened to share the exact same name, age, and apparently a dental office with his ex-wife's current insurance plan, which his well-meaning but lazy son tried to hijack for me, his coworker. It was an incredible, ridiculous coincidence caused by Wyatt's 25 years of denial and name-changing. He was hiding his past so effectively that his two lives literally collided over a dental form. Wait, Kevin, I asked, suddenly realizing the connection. Did my root canal consultation bill read $347 after insurance if I used my insurance? Kevin leaned in again. Because Dr. Klein is the one who saw your name, saw you were listed right after Wyatt King Jr., who just got veneers, and probably assumed you were also covered under the King policy because you were listed as an additional dependent. He probably put the claim through the King insurance first, and that's why Leslie got the notification. My jaw dropped. Wyatt's ex-wife got an explanation of benefits, EOB, saying $347 was paid out for Teresa Sanchez's consultation, linking me directly to Wyatt King's family plan. So Leslie knows I was listed as a dependent on her family plan, and she thinks Wyatt King, the plumber, is suddenly funding his 21-year-old mistress's teeth? Exactly, Kevin confirmed miserably. And Leslie King is scary, Teresa. She's like a financial ninja. I gather that. She figured out everything in about 5 seconds. I realized I couldn't ignore Leslie King. She wasn't an angry ex-wife trying to mess with Wyatt. She was a woman who saw a suspicious charge on her family's insurance and was rightly furious. And I was the key to exposing Wyatt's decades of deception. I looked at Kevin. You need to stay out of this, Kevin. I'm going to explain to your mother exactly what happened. This is the key. Did you ever tell your mom that the Wyatt King who cheated and ran away was still in town, or that he changed his name to Choi and drove a BMW? Kevin shook his head violently. No way. My mom made it very clear that man was dead to us. She thinks he moved to Alaska or something. I never connected Mr. Choi to my biological dad. Never. Until the clipboard. This was crucial. Wyatt had completely ghosted his family. Leslie was hunting down financial fraud, not seeking revenge. I pulled out my phone and messaged Leslie King. M.E. Hi, Leslie. This is Teresa Sanchez. I received your text. I believe I have the answers to why my name appeared on your policy, and I assure you I was not aware of it. I am no longer with Wyatt Choi. I can explain everything, and I think we need to talk urgently about what Wyatt has been doing. I need to meet you. The response came 45 minutes later. Leslie King, meet me at the hospice center parking lot at 5 p.m. I want to see this Kevin's coworker with my own eyes. Bring that paperwork. I felt sick. Meeting the woman who was essentially Wyatt's first victim, who raised his 2 sons while I was only 21, felt like walking into a historical deposition. Fast forward to Friday, 5:05 p.m. I'm standing in the desolate, slightly overgrown staff parking lot behind the hospice center. It's gloomy and I hate being here outside of work hours. A very clean, if slightly dated, Honda CR-V pulls up. Leslie King, 58F, steps out. She is impeccable. She has silver hair pulled back tightly, practical, expensive-looking glasses, and a sharp navy suit. She looks exactly like the type of woman who knows exactly where all the bodies are buried, financially speaking. She looked me up and down. My stress levels have caused me to wear the same leggings for 3 days, and I probably look like I haven't slept since Tuesday. Teresa Sanchez, she said, her voice surprisingly soft but carrying the weight of a judge's gavel. You are very young. I am 21, Leslie, I confirmed. I work here as a journey accompanist. Yes, Kevin told me. He also told me that the Wyatt Choi you were dating, well, it's him, isn't it? It is. He was Wyatt King 25 years ago. He changed his name after he left you and your 9-year-old son, I said, deciding to rip off the bandage immediately. I wasn't going to try to spare Wyatt's feelings. He didn't deserve any. Leslie's expression didn't change, but her grip tightened on the strap of her large leather tote bag. I suspected. That arrogance is hard to hide. I saw his picture on your social media once. I thought, no, impossible. He said he was going to Canada. He said he was single, childless, and wanted an easy life, I countered. He told me the divorce was messy, but never mentioned you had 2 children. Leslie raised an eyebrow. 2. Did he mention Wyatt Jr. and Kevin? Wyatt Jr. is 34. Kevin is 22, I confirmed. He told me he never wanted children. Ever. Leslie actually let out a dry, bitter laugh. Oh, he meant he didn't want responsibility for children. He loves the idea of being a father, as long as someone else is doing the laundry and paying the tuition. Wyatt King Jr. was conceived on our honeymoon. Kevin was a surprise we got right before he decided he couldn't handle being a husband or a father anymore. She walked toward the back of my Civic and leaned against it, crossing her arms. Now, let's talk about the dental plan, Teresa. Why did I get an EOB showing you were a dependent? And why was $347 of my insurance money spent on your consultation? That policy is strictly for me, Wyatt King, the plumber, Wyatt Jr., and Kevin. I explained Kevin's well-intentioned, lazy, but ultimately disastrous attempt to help me out. I showed her the texts and the screenshots. Finn thought he was helping me get a cheaper consultation by listing me as an unofficial ward under the primary policy holder's name, who he thought was his dad, the plumber, I explained. But it turns out the policyholder is his biological father, the man who abandoned you, because they share the name, age, and apparently the same expensive dentist. Leslie looked genuinely stunned. My Wyatt King is very careful about EOBs. He would have noticed this. Wait, are you telling me that the man who abandoned us, Wyatt Choi, is also seeing Dr. Klein, the specialist? Yes, I nodded. I found out because the patient who just left before Kevin, who had the expensive veneer fitting, was Wyatt King Jr., 34M, and they were both seeing Dr. Klein. Leslie King stared off into the sunset for a full minute, calculating. I could practically hear the gears grinding in her head. Wyatt Choi, my ex, is paying for his son's dental work under my policy, Leslie stated slowly. He is using my insurance, which he never paid into, to cover his obligations to his eldest son, while simultaneously pretending he has no children and dating you, a woman young enough to be his third child. Realization hit me harder than ever. Wyatt wasn't just lying to me. He was performing an ongoing, elaborate scheme to maintain a completely different life where he was a responsible father, but only financially and in secret, all while using his ex-wife's policy to shield himself from the financial burden. He was a covert narcissist and a low-key fraudster. Leslie, he specifically told me he drives his son Wyatt Jr. around the city sometimes. He always said it was an old client he was helping, I admitted, feeling sick. He was actually involved in their lives but couldn't tell me, his partner, about it. Of course he couldn't. It would ruin his current narrative, Leslie sneered. He thrives on appearing supportive while avoiding genuine emotional commitment. He was probably using the veneers as leverage to feel like the good dad while avoiding paying child support for 25 years. Wait, child support? Did he ever pay? After he changed his name, he claimed he was untraceable. I didn't have the funds to pursue a national search when I was raising 2 boys alone and working 3 jobs, Leslie explained, her voice hardening. But this dental fraud, this use of my policy, that's traceable. That's a crime. I realized I wasn't just dealing with a breakup. I had stumbled into a massive paternity and financial fraud case. Leslie, I am willing to testify to everything I saw and everything he told me, I offered instantly. He blocked me on everything, but I have the $200 Zelle payment receipts to Leslie K that he couldn't explain. I think he was reimbursing you in cash for the dental procedures, trying to keep it off the books. Leslie King smiled, and it was terrifying. That's why I came here, Teresa. You're young, but you're clearly smart, and you stood up to him. I want to help you with the logistical fallout, and in exchange, you helped me gather the evidence to finally file for back child support and expose this consulting business he runs. We spent the next 2 hours in that parking lot, comparing notes, texting screenshots, and building a case against Wyatt Choi/King. Leslie was sharp, methodical, and incredibly validating. She didn't treat me like a silly young girl. She treated me like a co-conspirator. It felt strangely empowering. Even explained the lease situation. Since Wyatt was the primary income earner who suddenly abandoned the shared lease, I could claim abandonment and potentially break the lease without penalty, as long as I documented his removal and changed the locks. She told me to send the landlord an email immediately, stating Wyatt had moved out and that I was seeking to sublet or break the contract due to financial distress caused by his abandonment. He wants you to feel desperate, Teresa, Leslie concluded. Narcissists need you to be helpless. You are not helpless. You maintained your sobriety, you walked away from the money, and you are helping me expose him. You are powerful. I drove back to Maya's that night, my head buzzing, but I was focused. I had a mission, and I had Leslie King on my side. A week went by where I was constantly fielding calls from my landlord, negotiating the lease break. They agreed to a 2-month penalty, which Leslie said was a good deal, and dealing with Wyatt's pathetic attempts to contact me. I blocked his number, but he started using burner numbers. He sent me 3 separate emails demanding I return his expensive, noise-canceling headphones, which I had already donated to a thrift store. Even showed up at my work, which was a huge boundary violation. Update. This morning he showed up at my door. I was staying at Maya's, but I had to go back to apartment 3B with Maya's paralegal friend, Sarah, to finish cleaning out my essential stuff and drop off the keys to the landlord. We were loading my boxes into a U-Haul when Wyatt came striding down the hall, looking like he hadn't slept, wearing a wrinkled version of his expensive suit. Teresa, stop this madness, he bellowed. You are being irrational. I have fixed the dental issue. I talked to Dr. Klein. It's settled. You don't need to leave. Sarah, the paralegal, stepped forward immediately. Mr. Choi, you need to keep your distance. Teresa has terminated your relationship and is legally vacating the premises. Any further communication must be through this channel. Wyatt ignored Sarah completely. He focused entirely on me, the ultimate gaslighting maneuver. This is not about the children, Teresa. This is about your issues with commitment. You are constantly running away from stability, he accused, his voice rising in desperation. I provided for you. You need me. I felt that familiar wave of self-doubt. Maybe he was right. Maybe I was running away from something good. It was his greatest trick, the way he made me question my own reality. But then I remembered Leslie King's face, Leslie's story of raising 2 boys alone, and I remembered Kevin's terrified expression. I remembered my 10 years of sobriety. The only thing I'm running away from is a liar and a fraud, Wyatt, I said, my voice shaking a little but steady enough. You lied about your name, your past, and your children for nearly 3 years. You used Leslie's insurance, and you let me stress out about affording a root canal when you were paying for your 34-year-old son's veneers. That's not stability. That's abuse. He tried to play the victim again. I changed my name to protect myself. Leslie was toxic. Leslie is a financial ninja who raised 2 amazing sons while you were driving a BMW and complaining about traffic, I shot back. The only toxic thing here is your need to control every narrative. He reached out for my arm, and I flinched back instantly. Don't touch me, I warned him. You are done, Wyatt. The lease is done. I have spoken to Leslie. You should probably expect to hear from her lawyer regarding 25 years of back child support. His face went white again, even whiter than when he saw the dental form. That was the real hit, the financial threat. You and that woman are conspiring against me, he shrieked. I will ruin you, Teresa. You will never get another job in hospice. I know people. Sarah stepped in firmly. Mr. Choi, that is a threat. If you do not leave, I will call the police and this will be added to the harassment file. Wyatt sputtered, but he finally retreated, slamming his apartment door behind him. Lock on the apartment was now changed, and I had handed the new key to the landlord's representative, who was waiting downstairs. I was officially out of apartment 3B. I got into the U-Haul with Sarah, and I was physically shaking, but I hadn't crumbled. I hadn't yelled back, and I hadn't succumbed to the desperate urge to relapse. I just drove away, leaving Wyatt Choi, or King, screaming threats behind a closed door. Tuesday, I was settling into a new, tiny studio apartment near Maya's pottery studio. It's expensive, TBH, and I'm eating ramen and canned beans, but it's mine. The air smells like fresh paint and not like Wyatt's expensive cologne and generalized anxiety. I had to face the Kevin King problem next. I saw Kevin back at the hospice center. The gossip had reached absolute terminal velocity. Everyone knew Teresa and Wyatt had split, and Kevin was subtly being tied into the mess. And was nervous around me, trying to avoid eye contact. "Hey, Kevin," I said, catching him by the break room. "Teresa, how are you?" he asked, looking stressed. "I'm fine, I'm moving on. How are things with you and your mom?" Mom is energized. She's talking to a lawyer about back child support. She's filed a complaint with Dr. Klein's office about the insurance fraud, Kevin reported, almost proud of his mom. "I'm just trying to stay focused on intake paperwork, which is still the actual worst." "Look, Kevin," I said, lowering my voice, "the truth is you didn't know anything and you actually helped me escape a really manipulative situation. I need you to know I don't blame you for the dental form mess. In fact, I owe you a root canal." Kevin looked genuinely touched. "Dude, I'm just sorry I was so lazy that day I didn't verify the policy holder name before writing yours down." "Your laziness saved my life, Kevin," I joked, and he actually cracked a smile. "I heard Mr. Choi was fired from his big consulting job," Kevin whispered. "Apparently, a client saw a social media post about him and questioned his moral fortitude. Also, Leslie King is apparently the wife of the head of the city planning committee. Small world. The universe, it seemed, was paying Wyatt back in small, satisfying ways. I realized something important about Kevin. He wasn't lazy because he was malicious. He was lazy because he was young and dealing with the chaos of a complicated family life, juggling college and a low-paying job. He was also kind in his own strange way. "I need your help with something," I told him. "I'm still way behind on intake calls because of all the stress. Can we actually sit down for an hour and go through the vendor contacts? I need to get back on track." Kevin looked shocked. "You want me to work with you?" "Yeah. No more trying to disable the notification counter. We focus for an hour and then I buy you tacos." He grinned. "Deal." It was a small thing, but for the first time in weeks, I felt like my life was returning to normal. Helping Kevin improve his work ethic while he helped me catch up felt like a genuine, healthy transaction. Maybe he was undergoing character development too. 3 days after that, Leslie King called me. She wasn't smiling. "Riza, I need to know the full financial picture," Leslie stated. "How much money did you have jointly? What accounts? What did he pay for?" I detailed everything. The $1,247 rent, the utility payments, the $200 Zelle transactions to Leslie K I had screenshots of, and the fact that Wyatt handled all the big bills, leaving me with groceries and my insurance deductible. "He controlled the money, Teresa. That's part of the control pattern," Leslie said. "He ensured you were financially dependent enough that leaving felt impossible." "It felt impossible, Leslie, but I did it." Leslie paused. "I want you to send me the full cost of your root canal and all the receipts. I also want the 2 months of lease penalty you had to pay." "Why?" I asked, confused. "Leslie, I can't ask you to pay my bills." "No, you don't understand," Leslie explained patiently. "Wyatt King owes me money. Courts are going to make him pay decades of back child support, and I will make sure they factor in restitution for every person he manipulated through financial control and fraud. You are a victim in this, and you need to be made whole, Teresa." I sat in my tiny studio, looking at the box of cheap ramen, and I felt tears sting my eyes. I was broke, exhausted, and fighting an uphill battle, but here was Leslie King, the victim of 25 years of the same man, fighting for me. I sent her all the documentation, including the preliminary bill for the $3,400 root canal I still needed. I'm typing this now from my studio apartment. It's been about 5 weeks since the dental office meltdown. The divorce proceedings for Leslie King versus Wyatt King, Choi, are underway, and apparently, the financial fraud angle is very real. Leslie has successfully blocked his company's assets temporarily while they sort out the back child support. I still haven't had the root canal. I'm waiting on my new dental insurance to kick in through my hospice employer, which won't be until the 1st of next month. I'm living off savings and ramen, but I am sleeping peacefully. I had a moment of weakness last week. I was scrolling through old photos and saw a picture of Wyatt and me on a beach trip, looking genuinely happy. For a second, I thought, maybe I overreacted. Maybe the lying wasn't that bad. I immediately called Maya. "Maya, I'm having a wobble. I'm romanticizing the past," I confessed. "Teresa," she said sternly, "you walked away from a man who had 2 secret children, used his ex-wife's insurance to pay for his 34-year-old son's cosmetic dental work, and kept you in financial dependency so you couldn't leave. He also threatened your job. That isn't romance. That's a trap." I needed to hear that. I deleted the photo. My life is incredibly messy right now. My finances are a wreck. My tooth hurts constantly, and I am still processing the shame and betrayal. But I did something incredible. I chose freedom over comfort. I chose truth over the easy lie. And most importantly, I maintained my decade of sobriety. Every day when the panic rises and the urge to numb out hits, I remember that moment in the dentist waiting room when Wyatt said, "You need me." I looked at him and said, "No, I need my sobriety, and you are a threat to that." That boundary, that choice was everything. It was the moment I stopped being his dependent and started being my own best advocate. Yesterday, I got an email from Leslie King. It wasn't about the lawsuit. It was a PDF attachment titled Root Canal Payment Confirmation. Leslie had sent a cashier's check for the full $3,400 root canal bill directly to Dr. Klein's office, listing the payment as restitution for financial damages incurred by Wyatt King's deceptive practices. There was a note attached. "You deserve to be healthy, Teresa. Consider this a down payment on your new life. Stay strong." Leslie K, I cried for a solid 10 minutes. Not from sadness, but from overwhelming gratitude. My biggest fear, the financial impossibility of my dental work, was gone, thanks to the woman who suffered longer under his manipulation. I'm not sure what the future holds. I'm terrified of dating again, honestly. I've switched my contact in my phone from WYTT liar to don't be a dependent. It's a good reminder. I'm still finding his stuff. Just this morning, I found one of his expensive golf balls shoved under the radiator. I didn't throw it out or smash it. I put it in a small box labeled WYTT's debris, and I plan to take it to the next AA meeting to remind myself of the chaos I escaped. I'm starting my root canal next week. My therapist says I am making excellent progress in understanding codependency patterns. Kevin is actually turning in his intake forms on time now, and we grab tacos on Tuesdays. It's not a perfectly resolved ending. I'm facing down huge rent, crippling student loans, and the general anxiety of being 21 and single in a ridiculously expensive city. But I walked away from a literal lie, and I am standing on my own 2 feet, healthy and sober. I'll take the chaos over the control any day. Anyway, that's the update. Wish me luck with the anesthetic. We'll update if Wyatt sends me any more threatening emails from burner accounts, but honestly, I think he's too busy figuring out how to pay Leslie's lawyer. Good riddance.